Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talks, our new experience. We got a new time, as you know, here, 9 a.m. It looks like I didn't send Carlos a link, so I should send it. We'll be joined by by our good friend, the Mad New Yorker. Give me a second while I send him the invite here to the show. Maybe that was maybe it's a Freudian thing that I didn't invite him over. I don't know. But give me a second. We'll do it. Listen, we're going to talk. And by the way, I want to talk real quick, and I won't talk for as long as I have in the past here about our good friend Dan Harris, but I want to do that. Dan passed away this week, sadly. Great guy, great person. Watch my little tribute I did. It's on TGI Sports Talk. It's on Dan's page. It's on the Let's Talk Sports page. It's everywhere, and he's a good man. And Godspeed, Dan Harrison. You'll be part of this DDH. You're going to stay with us forever, so keep that up. Keep that in mind, guys. And Godspeed to my good friend Dan Harris. Going to be missed tremendously, and he will never be forgotten by this show. So let me I welcome everybody to our new time slot, as I said, 9 o'clock. We're going to switch things up a little bit. We'll be live on Roku at that time. We're going to talk today about NFL surprises and disappointments here as we're a quarter of the way through the season. Let me just send Carlos a quick note. And we'll talk college football, pretenders and contenders, and some of the college football. I'm going to rank the best college football quarterbacks. Who's really good, who's maybe overrated, and who's a surprise, and, maybe I'm not sure about yet. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, we'll have Carlos in here in a minute, and can't wait to let me do something. I think I got a little problem with because of this. Am I on StreamYard once? Okay, good, perfect. All right, guys. Anyway, sorry for the delay. We'll have Carlos in here in a second. I want to welcome everybody watching us on TGI Sports Talk, on Northeast Streaming Sports, Let's Talk Sports, Roku, and the like. We also want to make sure that you get out there and watch Ralph Williams. Looking for my crowd here. We've got a new relationship as far as cross promotion, and we'll do some stuff with shows with Ralph. Ralph Williams with the Sports Corner out there in Pittsburgh, and RW Media, where he's got a lot of other shows, the way we see it, one of those shows. But we'll continue to do things with Ralph. And he's on, I want to give the radio station, but I don't have it right in front of me right now, so I apologize, Ralph. But we'll get that a little bit better situated. Fridays are a little different for me as I go on now, first with Mac and Jack at 8:30, then start this show, similar to what I do on Sunday. So we got to make a quick transition. And somewhere, my little piece on Ralph Williams went away. But Ralph's a good guy, does a lot of great stuff with sports, and a good guy. And we're glad to have him. And again, one last time, and we'll mention Ralph again, not Ralph. Thank you. Ralph's okay. We'll mention our good friend Dan Harris again Sunday. For those who haven't heard, Dan did pass away. So watch the tribute. I have great feelings for Dan, and I don't want to go into it here again, but I definitely want to make sure that we messenger. Just a good guy. I mean, nothing more I can say. Did a lot. You'll hear in that tribute. I don't want to go into it a lot here. So, and Carlos will be with us in a second. Rest in peace, Dan. Man, good morning, Ken Gifford. Good to have you with us. Good afternoon, Alex Simpson, over there in the UK. Speaking of our good friend Dan Harris, frost on the mountain for Kenny Gifford today. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Maybe we'll play golf next week, Kenny. I wanted to play this week, but I'm going to tell Tom I can't play. I got too much to do after coming off a vacation. All the big guns are gone in baseball. I know we'll get into a lot of that on the Major League Baseball update at 3:00. Don't forget, we'll be live here on all the same stations on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, but we'll be on TGI Sports Talks feeds, Northeast Streaming Sports feeds, Let's Talk Sports feeds. Roku. We'll be live on Roku too. We're live now on Roku. We'll be live at 3:00, and we'll be live Sunday mornings now on Roku as well. But remember, you can watch us there. You can't comment there. So if you want to be part of the show, and we want you guys to be part of these shows, as you know, please, you can join us here as well. And then the people who don't want to participate can watch us on Roku and watch you guys contribute to this show. But we'll get into that baseball on Sunday for sure. Today, we're going to focus on the NFL, college football, pretenders and contenders, NFL surprises and disappointments. And can any of those I guess we'll take it from a couple of standpoints. Can the surprises continue? Can the disappointments rebound? In the college football world, I want to look at, there's a lot of teams wide open. The playoff is right now. My team's all looking really good. We'll touch on that in a second, and we'll touch on I think the contenders are and who the pretenders are, and see what Carlos has to say there. And also, we'll rank the quarterbacks. I don't remember a time with this many good college quarterbacks. Now, again, before Kenny gets there, we're talking about college quarterbacks, and what they do on the next level, we can touch on it, but that's not the focus of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the best college quarterbacks and who was there. Alec talks about Dan being one of the top. He was the top guy, man. And he will be missed so much by a lot of people. And again, as I said in my tribute, there's a lot of things about Dan that people don't even know, and did a lot of things behind the scenes for people, monetarily. He had to take care of his disabled siblings. He was disabled his entire life before the cancer that did take his life took him. I mean, he had a lot of battles in his life and fought them bravely, and took care of siblings at the same time. They lived in the same house until he had to leave for palliative care. And again, as I say in my my little tribute to Dan, not to go on too long here, I hope they're okay too. For my friend, I'm sad, but I'm relieved. I'm saddened to lose my friend. Saddened that he's not here on this planet, in this world anymore. But I'm relieved that he's past the struggles he has gone through for so long, and he's at peace. So Godspeed, as I said. America's Game, and you can't watch on television unless you pay extra. Greedy bastards. Who are we talking about? We're talking about baseball still. We could talk about that a little bit. And if it's something I don't want to go too deep into today, we can certainly add it to Sunday's agenda where we have more time. Now we have an extra hour. It gives us more time to dive into more topics. But, I mean, I was able to watch every game, actually, because I still, it's funny. America's Game to me is still baseball, but to probably most of the country, it's football. And you're probably thinking about football because unless you had Prime, although the game was on the NFL Network last night. So if you have the NFL Network as part of your cable package or streaming package, you could have watched there, which I thought they were exclusively on Prime. But they were on, I did call a call. Listen, by the way, the win against TCU doesn't look so great anymore, does it? I mean, TCU is struggling. They lost Iowa State last week. Again, when I say the fall of Iowa, or Colorado, I still say Deion's doing a great job. Deion wins 6 games. He did a great job there. And I think he'll win 6, maybe even 7 games. He'll make a bowl game, and that's tremendous for where that program's been. It's been a wasteland for 20 years. But when they were 3-0 and the excitement was all there, I said they'd be 3-2 at the end of September. They're 3-2 at the end of September. Well, they're 4-2 now in October, but baseball is America's game, period. I agree, Kenny. Thank you. I just want to make clear because, again, unfortunately, unlike what they should do, I don't know where Carlos is. They should have baseball as their number one game, and to me, it still is. But you could watch the games. I mean, Kenny, I don't know what you've got up there on the mountain. I'm assuming you have some kind of streaming service, but if you only have antenna, then no, you're not going to see a lot of the games because you have Fox too. That hurts you. You don't, because Fox is still blacked out for you. Last night's games were on TBS. They were on the Major League Baseball Network, I think, in Spanish version, and True TV also had it as well, which is part of the TBS network. But the National League Championship Series and the American League Championship Series, I believe one will be on Fox, one will be on TBS, just to fill you in there. And Linda says, Linda from Max Sports says, Fly with Angels. Dan will always be a huge part of Northeast Streaming Sports family, and Dan will be part of any family. And thank you, Linda. And on Dan's behalf, Dan will be part of any family of anybody he ever worked with and touched. Believe me, I loved my Friday afternoons. I love everything I do here. I love my shows that I do by myself or with some guests like Carlos, Jim Behringer, the people we have on at different times, Mark Mancini, Larry Sorensen, different guests. I loved my Friday afternoon show with Dan, where we called Let's Talk New York Sports. We had a blast, and Dan was just one interesting guy. No, I just said they didn't fail, Kenny. What I said was when they were 3-0, don't get excited. They'll be 3-2 at the end of October. And I said before the season they would win 6 games, is what I said. Now they may move that to 7. I still don't see them winning more than 7 games. Look at the schedule. And again, that's successful. I said before the season that would be success. So I'm not saying they are failing or falling. Well, they all are falling, because that would have been a successful season. But when they get to 3-0, and all the Dion fans who listen, I think Dan's a great coach. I have given Dion great praise. He's not a clown show. I don't know why Carlos can't get in the show here. But when you're 3-0 and then you're starting to talk about Pac-12 championships and guys winning the Heisman, and I said it would fall back to earth. So they have fallen back to earth. They were never going to go 10-2, 9-3. It wasn't going to happen. Ravens, where are you, by the way, buddy? Ravens and Titans on NFL Network, not on local stations. I didn't imply that they were. They were on Prime last night, and they were on NFL Network, which is part of most streaming packages or cable packages. Last night, only TBS. The National League Championship Series, one of them will be on TBS, one will be on Fox. I'm certain of that. I can double check it, and we'll talk more about it tonight at the hang on, I can tell you right now if I look at the schedule. No, wait. Let me do it this way. I wasn't going to get into all this today, but since Carlos, I'm not sure where our problem is with you getting in here. I did send you the link. If you can't get in, we'll continue the show as we are, and I'll get into my topics. Let's see. Here we go. Fox has the Rangers and Astros. Fox and FS1 both have the Ranger and Astro series, and TBS has the Diamondbacks and Phillies. By the way, we're going to get into this this afternoon, but we're going to talk about how the extended wild cards have really hurt Major League Baseball. Sorry. But we'll get into it. I thought cornhole was American's game. On the ship last week, they had a big cornhole tournament. I should have entered. I played very well. And I walked by as they were taking a break in the tournament. I was walking by holding a drink. My wife and I were just walking along one of the decks, and there was the setup. And I just grabbed 4 bags, threw one right by the hole, and then dropped 3 straight in the hole and walked away. And the guy goes, "Wait, wait, 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 wait." I said, "No, I've got a contract. I can't participate." Alec, talking to Linda McGrath, 100% on Dan. We all agree. Carlos, Keith and I agree. Carlos, they would win about 7. I did say 6, to be fair, and get a bowl game. If they get to 7, then they exceeded my expectations. And again, when I said they would fall back to earth, Kenny, I was just talking about they weren't winning 10 games. His numbers are still pretty good. He's certainly not a Heisman candidate. Shedeur. And by the way, do we know? We're getting totally off track here today. It's fine. It's our first 9 o'clock show, so we had some trouble with Carlos getting in. Looks like he's got some problems with. I don't know. I don't know what he's got a problem with. We'll just continue with round robin in your topics. It'll be a little like the Sunday Stream of Consciousness today. That's fine. Notre Dame. Oh, Notre Dame failed. Sorry, he's not what he was billed to be. Look at Sam Hartman. Still has pretty good numbers. This isn't all Sam Hartman's fault. Although the team has not been what they billed to be. They're definitely in my pretender list. So we'll skip to that. So let me go to that right now since Kenny's there. I want to talk about contenders or pretenders. I'm going to leave, and they're not even in it anymore. My pretenders and contenders were basically people that were still alive who was really a contender and a pretender. Notre Dame, I put on my list because they were getting very well hyped, including by me. I thought if they got through this stretch of games, I do think they'll beat USC this week, by the way. Although I think I will sit back and bet the over in that game. It's only 60, and it looks like a gift. But Notre Dame is definitely on that list. Sam Hartman, I would not blame Sam Hartman completely, Kenny. But I do understand why you feel he hasn't played it well. He hadn't thrown an interception before last week. I still like the coaching staff. They're growing into their jobs. They should have been more upfront about not knowing they had 10 men on the field for 2 downs, not 1 at the end of that Ohio State game. They didn't. Marcus Freeman said after the game, we knew we had 10. We decided to go with 10 because we didn't want to take a penalty. It was all BS. It's there. I can't keep sending the thing over and over again here, Carlos. It's there. I sent it via Messenger already. Where was I? I forgot what I was talking about now. Oh, was it Notre Dame? Doesn't pay to get old, let me tell you. Marcus Freeman. They didn't admit that they did not actually know how many guys were on the field until it was revealed it wasn't just the last play where the Ohio State scored the winning touchdown. It was on the play before it as well. So then they admitted they just didn't know. You can't do that. You got to take responsibility for the mistakes you make. So my other pretenders, and I'll get to your comments here in a second, and if we got to jump around, we will. Here's the real contenders I have. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, Oklahoma, all undefeated. Washington undefeated. Oregon undefeated. That will change this weekend as Washington plays Oregon in a huge game. And Texas with 1 loss. The other 1 loss and the undefeated teams, I've got 2 undefeated teams in my pretender list. Penn State and USC. Pretenders. Penn State's played nobody. They play UMass this weekend. They're averaging like 40 points a game, but they don't have an explosive offense. They are 113th out of 133 teams in this country in plays over 20 yards. Allard, the quarterback, has thrown 4 passes in 5 games over 20 yards. You don't beat Michigan. You don't beat Ohio State without explosive plays. Now, maybe they're keeping them under their vest. We're going to find out about Penn State on October 21st when they play Ohio State. I'm not a James Franklin fan. 2-7, I think, lifetime against Michigan and Ohio State. He doesn't win the big games. Don't tell me about the Rose Bowl victory last year. I don't care. Those weren't the important games. The games leading up to the fact that he's in the Rose Bowl, not the playoff, are the important games. So those were, again, I think all of these, I think it's wide open. Texas is still alive. Texas doesn't lose another game, runs the table, gets it to the Big 12 championship game against an undefeated Oklahoma team, and wins, they're probably getting the playoff. Alabama, North Carolina undefeated. Alabama 1 loss. Ole Miss with 1 loss. I think they don't really have a chance. Alabama, I guess, if they run the table, they're undefeated in the SEC. If they stay undefeated in the SEC, they beat an undefeated Georgia team in the SEC championship game, theoretically they could get in. I don't see it happening. Alabama's not as good as they've been. I think they're getting better, but Georgia's getting better as well. And I think it's more likely that Alabama loses a game before Alabama maybe loses 2 games before the championship game. And Georgia will be undefeated playing a 2-loss team in the championship game. And if they lose to a 2-loss team in the SEC championship game, then they're not going to make the playoff. I don't think. But my picks, Georgia, Ohio State, Florida State, Oklahoma, all right there. I get 3 out of 4. I'll be very happy. Good morning, Dave Guyette. Sorry I didn't put this up earlier. Carlos' problem is he's in New York, and like all New York teams, fail to get in. Carlos, where are you? Your internet is like New York City local teams. Notre Dame defense is too inconsistent, and they're not scoring enough points. I thought the defenses played pretty good. Last week they didn't. Listen, that Louisville team is better than you think. I gave you contenders, and I gave you pretenders. I'm going to give you one sleeper. Louisville. Jeff Brom has done a great job. They're probably a year ahead of where they expected to be. If they run the table and beat Florida State, and undefeated Florida State, well, I guess they'd have to play them in the regular season. I'm not sure if they play them in the regular season or not. If they win the ACC undefeated, you could see Louisville in the playoff. They'll probably get killed. But I think it's wide open. The best team so far to me, some will say Michigan. Michigan hasn't played anybody either. They have not been tested. Oklahoma, Washington, Oregon, to me, are the 3 best teams in the country right now. Georgia deserves the number 1 ranking, as I've said. I have said I think they'll three-peat. I think they'll get better. Rick Sherlock talks about it a lot. They get better as the season goes on. But right now, they're not the best team in the country. They deserve to be ranked number 1 in my mind because you have to beat the champion, especially when they're 2-time champion. Penn State needs to play tougher competition. Well, again, they're going to play it soon. And if you think playing UMass helps you get ready for Ohio State, then God bless you. I don't. So next week, we'll see. James Franklin will be on the losing end of that Ohio State game again. And I'll be saying on that Sunday, I told you so. Washington can't be a sleeper, Carlos. A sleeper's got to be somebody we didn't expect to be in play before the season. We all expected. Oklahoma's a sleeper. They weren't even ranked. I had the cojones, not to pat myself on the back, to go outside the top 25 and pick the Oklahoma Sooners to make the Final Four. Washington was ranked in the top 10. That's not a sleeper. Louisville, outside of the top 25. I think they moved up 11 spots to 14 this week. You can't call Washington's got to be a contender, not a sleeper or a pretender. I'll give you Washington State. They're done. They lost the game. Oregon State. All those teams would have been sleepers. There's a ton of parity and it's wide open. It is. I've got 8 teams. That's wide open. I mean, when you look at the rankings, which are just what they are, I don't see anybody past Ole Miss having a shot. Again, when we get down to, past, and USC is a pretender to me. You get past Carolina. All these teams could do something. Oregon State at 15. I think once you get past Louisville at 14, you're done. I don't think Oregon State got a path. I don't think Utah's got a path because I don't think a one-loss team in the Pac-12 is getting in. Somebody's got to stay undefeated. So that's Duke, UCLA. Again, it's wide open. Yes. 14 teams still alive, theoretically. I already eliminated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those as pretenders. Penn State, USC, Alabama, North Carolina, Ole Miss, and Notre Dame doesn't even count. They no longer have any shot. Michigan won't get tested till Penn State. That's the problem. Michigan's big problem. If there becomes, for whatever reason, there's 5 undefeated teams at the end of the season, Michigan's out of conference schedule will hurt them badly. So they better hope they're undefeated and there's only no more than 3. There not be any. By the way, there may be no undefeated teams this year. Carlos says Georgia will stay in the top 4. They should. They have to stay in the top 4. But if they lose, I'm telling you, if they lose to a 2-loss team in the SEC championship game, they're not getting in. Now, it depends on other things, right? To me, you ought to be a conference champion to get in to a 14 playoff anyway. When we got 12, we can talk about something else. If you're not a conference champion, I've always had a problem with teams getting in. I say sleeper because it's the Pac-12. Pac-12 is the best conference in the country right now. Look at the top 6 teams in that conference. Look at the number of teams in the top 25. How many teams in the top 25? Washington, Oregon in the top 10. USC, top 10. Oregon State, Washington State, UCLA, Utah. I ran out of fingers. That's 7 or 8 teams in the top 25. Nobody else has got that kind of depth. Nobody. It's the best conference in the country. It's also why they may not get a berth because they're going to cannibalize each other. Rankings. No, these are. Yes, the rankings are there. You need something as a guide, Carlos. You're going to tell me that there's 7 teams as good as. Let me just forget about the rankings. Let me just go to the conference standings here. Boy, it's a good thing you're not in the studio today. I am in a mood. I can't find my. Here's my standings. So let's look at the SEC real quick. We're going to move on to the NFL after this. Get ready. The NFL. Surprises, disappointments. What disappointments can recover? So in the Pac-12, I've got USC. I understand they're a pretender. They're undefeated with a chance to make the playoff. Washington, Oregon, Utah, Oregon State, Washington State, Utah, all with 1 loss. UCLA with 1 loss. All of these teams, theoretically, if the dominoes fell right, could make it to the playoff. Could. And I wouldn't have an argument with any of them. They're all really good teams. Let's look at the SEC. In the East, Georgia's it. The rest of and I love Kentucky. They showed last week against Georgia they are not ready for prime time. Nobody else in the East it matches up with any of the teams I just mentioned. None of them. They'd all get beat by every team I just mentioned in the Pac-12. And the West is worse. Alabama is Alabama, so we'll give them a chance. LSU has stunk. Their defense is terrible. It's as bad as the Pac-12 defenses. Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Auburn. You're telling me this conference is better than the Pac-12? Not possible. Not even possible. ND has played the toughest schedule so far. I would agree. I mean, and before the season, a lot of people were talking about being a cupcake schedule. But that's why you got to wait for the season to play out, right? They played a really good Duke team. Tried to give it away. They didn't win the game. They played a really good Ohio State team. Should have won. They played what turns out to be a really, really good Louisville team who may shock the world. I'm not saying they will. I'm here, just not there. It's harder this way, Carlos, because I can't shut you down. Carlos will be back with us next week, I promise. Or I warn you, however you want to take that. Georgia, Oregon versus Georgia, who wins? Today, as we speak, Oregon. Their defense is really good. Their offense. They got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Today. Now, 4 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now, when we get to the playoff, I may have a totally different take because Georgia's getting better every week. If Carson Beck keeps improving at quarterback, and he has improved pretty much weekly, he struggled against Auburn, but he made the plays he had to make to win that game. And they've got a guy named Brock Bowers who might be the intangible. Great player. Great player. If you haven't watched Brock Bowers play for Georgia, watch the games. This kid is really good. He's going to play for a long time on Sundays. And he may end up the difference maker in this whole thing at the end. Who knows? We're concentrating on these great quarterbacks, which we'll talk about as well. Maybe I'll segue into that since we're talking college. If Georgia plays Pac-12 teams, they might go 10-2. Not this Georgia team. Depending on how that schedule match up, this Georgia team would have lost already. And I'm telling you this Georgia team will get better. And I'm still telling you they'll win the national championship. But I will tell you, if they had played USC, Oregon, Washington State, Oregon State, Utah, they would have lost somewhere in that group. They would not be undefeated right now. And by the way, 10-2 doesn't get you in the playoff either. So your argument really doesn't hold up that well. And I really wasn't talking about Georgia when I was talking about the SEC. I'm talking about everybody else. Everybody else. Bo Nick is probably my age. Bo Nick, this will be a good set. I got Kenny's thing here. Bo Nix. Bo Nix has turned into a different quarterback since he got up to Oregon with Dan Lanning. Plus, he played under. This kid has played under like 6 different offensive coordinators in his career. Bo Nix struggled in big games in Auburn. I have yet to see Bo Nix struggle at Oregon. Maybe I wasn't watching close enough last year. This year he hasn't. He certainly didn't struggle against Colorado, which is their biggest game of the year. We'll see how he does this week. You got to match up this week, and we're going to talk about quarterbacks. Who are the best quarterbacks in the NCAA right now? 9:35. We got 25 minutes left. We got to stay on schedule because of the whole Roku thing. You got Michael Penix Jr. against Bo Nix. Bo Nix. Thank you, Kenny. I'm going to give you right now. Let's move to quarterbacks. And there are a ton. I've never seen so many good quarterbacks in college football at the same time. Here's my rankings. Number one, and nobody's got him number one. I got two surprises for you, maybe not surprises, but everybody's ranking Penix up there and Bo Nix, Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams won't win the Heisman because his numbers are gaudy. His numbers will be gaudy, but he's not going to play for a playoff team. And there's a bias against giving a guy a second Heisman trophy. One guy's done it. If Tim Tebow didn't do it with the year he had when he didn't win, Caleb Williams isn't winning. And don't tell me that he stunk as an NFL quarterback because I don't care. We're talking about college quarterbacking. My number one quarterback, and I'll get to some comments again in a second. Drake May is the number one quarterback in this college football season. You'll see it by the end of the season. Watch him this week against Miami. And Carlos, be thinking about your locks for the NFL. Your lock, and don't be surprised if, and your lock, and don't be surprised if for the college and the NFL. Don't give it to me now. Wait till whatever 5 of 9 to put it in. So let me put this banner up here. Then we're going to get to your comments. I'll give you my list. I'm a little out of order here, so I got to. Best quarterbacks. Drake May, number 1. I'm going to put Michael Penix number 2. And he is, right now, when you look at the betting sites, Caleb Williams and Michael Penix are running neck and neck, basically. Number 3, Dylan Gabriel. Where are you, Alan Perales? Dylan Gabriel had a Heisman moment last week, leading that winning touchdown drive against Oklahoma. Those are the things that Heisman voters remember. The problem for him is going to be it was played in October, early October. But that is a Heisman Trophy winning moment right there. We always talk about that. You see the game years ago with Desmond Howard against, I think, Ohio State. No, it might have been Notre Dame, where he did the pose. Heisman moment. I got Bo Nix 4th. I got Caleb Williams all the way down at 5. I don't like Caleb Williams. I see another Robert Griffin III in Caleb Williams going forward. Great college quarterback. And again, I'm not getting into the NFL part of this, but I don't like him. Even on the college level, I think these 4 guys rank ahead of him. Then I like Jaden Daniels from LSU, Jackson Dart from Mississippi, Cam Ward from Washington State, Jaden Taylor from Florida State, and a guy who hasn't even played this year, Cam Rising, is my number 10 quarterback. Overrated? Shedeur Sanders. I'm sorry. His numbers are gaudy, but you talk about guys who don't play good in big games. Look at his games. Can't read my writing. LR, I think, is overrated. DJ Ukulele out there at the Oregon State. Sorry, can't say his name right. Quinn Ewers, overrated. Doesn't play well in big games. Did come back and play a decent game last week against Oklahoma after a tough start. Sam Hartman, Kenny, I will give you Sam Hartman. I'm putting him on my overrated list. Not quite as bad as maybe you think. I got to look here because I'm missing a couple of guys that I had on my list. Give me a second here. Here's my overrated list. I know I'm missing a couple of guys. Put on my overrated list. No, he's not on my I got an underrated list as well. I got an underrated list. He's on my underrated list. Caden Slater, really good. I guess I thought I had a couple other guys here. Tyler Van Dyke, overrated. That was a guy I was looking at. Guys that are getting better, and I'm not sure about yet. Carson Beck, Riley Leonard, J.J. McCarthy. Those are 3 guys I'm not sure which list to put them on. And I've got an underrated list. I just mentioned The guy from Liberty, Caden, where'd Caden go here? Just went by him, so can't read my own writing for crying out loud, so I got to go back to my notes. Caden Slater from Liberty, TJ Finley, Texas State, Michael Pratt from Temple, been hurt a lot this year, has hurt Temple in their one loss against Ole Miss. Tulane might be looking at another New Year's Day bowl if Michael Pratt could stay healthy. Jack Plummer from Louisville, underrated, moving up the charts. And also, I'm going to give a shout out to where's this kid's name? Can't read my writing again. The kid from Army. Somebody be able to give me his name. How far down are you going to go? There he is. Bryson Daly. Underrated quarterback at Army. Army's changed their whole offense this year, throwing the ball a whole lot more. I mean, this kid's already got 9 touchdown passes and 1,071 yards passing, averaging now 9 yards per pass attempt. That's unheard of for Army. And they're 2-3 and playing, again, really good competition as a rule and very competitive day after day. So let's see what we got here. We got a lot of comments to get through here. I don't even know if we're going to get to our NFL portion, so we may have to do this later. SEC elitists and football fans note that the SEC is struggling. Well, good. It's good. It's funny. My buddy John DeLong has disappeared from the college football huddle. When are we going to see 20 and 18-year-olds again? Well, COVID really threw things off, right? So we're seeing 6-year, even 7-year seniors. But you're going to see, look at some of the kids I just mentioned are young guys. Plummer, J.J. McCarthy's not an old guy. Riley Leonard's not an old guy. Some of the top quarterbacks are, because they've been around forever, like Nix and Gabriel. Cam Rising, another guy's been around forever. Yes, Drake May from USC. Drake May. Watch him play, Carlos. Do me a favor. Watch him play this week against Miami, although I'm going to pick Miami to win this game, by the way. Drake May runs the ball. He throws the ball with better accuracy than anybody else in the country. And he looks ready to play in the NFL today. I can't say that about a lot of these quarterbacks. Again, I'm ranking them as college quarterbacks. But if you want to take the jump to the next level, Drake May is going to be the guy most ready to play. I wish I could hear you roar. Alex Simpson says Purdy has changed on how NFL teams view quarterbacks coming out of college. It's all about games played. Purdy came out of Iowa State, as we know, led them to some of their best seasons ever with Matt Campbell coaching out there. Purdy, listen, there's a lot of great quarterbacks that weren't drafted in the first round or in the top 10, right? The greatest of all time, number 12, we know where he was drafted in the 6th round. Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. You know, maybe these guys should start looking at running backs, quarterbacks like running backs, because there are a lot of good guys. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm going to back up a little bit. Purdy and Brady are the exceptions. You do find guys that can be acceptable NFL quarterbacks on the next level. Guys that will lead teams to championships, you won't find them late. Problem is, drafting quarterbacks early also destroy your franchise and set them back decades. Coastal Carolina quarterback is going to be good in the pros. They've struggled little bit this year. You're talking about McCall. What's his name? Carson McCall, I think. He's a good quarterback, good college quarterback. Not sure how he's going to translate at the next level yet, Kenny. I got to see a little more of him once he gets to the combine and things. And It's such a different offense they run down there at Coastal Carolina. We'll see. He's a good quarterback, great college quarterback. Didn't make my list, just I think probably because they've struggled so much this year that I never got to them. Carlos Penix Jr., Caleb Williams. Sanders is not third. Shedeur Sanders is not the third best quarterback in college football. He's on a team that's going to win 6 games. Cam Ward, very underrated, playing great football. Drake, Nix, Travis. I don't even have Hartman in my top 10. I've got Hartman overrated, and you people know how much I love Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman has let Notre Dame down a little bit. I told Kenny earlier, this isn't all Sam Hartman's fault, but Sam Hartman was brought in here to do one thing: get Notre Dame into the playoff, and he didn't do it. He's playing good football. He's probably enhanced his own draft status a little. This guy's not going to be a great player on the next level either, but he might carry a clipboard for a while. Jalen Daniels and J.J. McCarthy are questionable. Jalen Daniels is a great quarterback, college quarterback, tremendous. So him and Drake May are probably the best dual threat quarterbacks in the country. May and Dylan Gabriel, by the way. And McCarthy's not a dual threat quarterback. He's one guy. I put McCarthy in my the jury's still out category, so I'll agree with you there. But Jalen Daniels, no. Jalen Daniels makes my top 10. It's Jaden Daniels I'm talking about. I think Jaden Daniels from LSU, just to be clear. DJ at Oregon State, number 10. I can't put DJ. He's in my overrated list. That's probably the guy I couldn't read his name. Oh, I did put him on there. Too inconsistent. His accuracy issues are still there. Then you look at his numbers and they look fine, but you watch him play. Go back and watch the Washington State game. He struggles with accuracy big time. That was his problem at Clemson. He's playing for a better offensive team now, too. 6 and 7 year seniors, dumb kids. Now, actually, they're smart kids, Kenny, because they're sticking around. They're sticking around college because they're making more money there than they would in the pros. Sam Hartman's getting more money in NIL than he would have gotten on any pro contract he would have gotten. And I think I started to say before, surprisingly, Shedeur Sanders is making more NIL money this year than any player in college football. $2.7 million. He won't be coming out. Can't imagine more than 2 players maybe becoming true quarterbacks and the rest on and off NFL rosters. I'm not concerned about that. I get it. I mean, I've gone there myself today, right? But my conversation in ranking these quarterbacks, Carlos, has zero to do with their NFL prospects. Nothing. I'm talking about college quarterbacks. Great college quarterbacks. Again, Tim Tebow might be the best college quarterback of all time. Tell me who somebody who had 2 better years back-to-back. He should have won back-to-back Heisman trophies. Caleb Williams is a great college quarterback. Dylan Gabriel is a great college quarterback. Michael Penix, great college quarterback. I don't see these guys maybe making it to the next level, but it doesn't matter to me for the sake of this conversation. I'm talking about college quarterbacks. Purdy's doing well, however, there's much more to see. Yes. He's only played 11 games and won them all, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, well, we got to count. If you're going to count the playoffs and him not playing after the third play of the game, he's got 1 loss. But I believe other than that, Brock Purdy's still undefeated in the regular season. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody can correct me. Hold on, we're not talking about the NFL yet. I will address this. So, the problem aren't these quarterbacks' talents. Oh, that's bull crap, Carlos. You really listen. you're not wrong in the fact that they don't always see the talent in these guys. Tom Brady goes number 6. Purdy goes last in the draft. But you can't tell me it's not a development league when they can develop guys who are 6th-round draft picks and the last man picked in the draft into Super Bowl caliber quarterbacks. Good morning, John Gonzalez. Great to have you with us. Just one baseball comment. I said your podcast. I said on your podcast a few weeks ago the Braves would stumble in the playoffs, and there would be a surprise team coming out of the National League. Guess I'm right so far. You are, and tune in Sunday, John, because we're going to talk a lot. Actually, 3:00 if you're available. I'm going to talk a lot about this on the NLB update, and we'll talk about it Sunday morning on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness as well. We'll get more into that, but I got a lot of thoughts on why we have the teams we have in the ALCS and the NLCS, and it's not pretty. Great to have you with us, though, John. As always. John, I may post if you don't mind, I did and I don't know that you had, Dan Harris posted anything to the sports authorities, but I'd like to post my tribute. I did a little 10-minute tribute to Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports. And I'd like to post it on Sports Authorities if that's okay with you. I wanted to ask you before I did it because it's not my normal thing. If you don't want me to, I don't mind not either. Certainly your call. No ill will either way. Kenny's talking about the kind of money. If they make that kind of money, then why are they getting scholarships? Pay for the. Listen, I'm not debating that. Listen, you know me, and I've said if I could go back to 1985, I would. I've been a proponent of expanding a playoff because if we're going to have it the way it is now, I want more teams. But if I could have my way, I'd just go back to the best team, vote for the best team and be done with it. I'd go back to a time where we weren't having transfer portals and NILs, but I'm also adapting to the world and the reality we live in. And how can I get mad at the kids for getting a scholarship, getting NIL money, when all the schools care about is they don't have any allegiance to the leagues, to the historical matchups and rivalry games and the other teams in their conference. They don't give a crap about them. Coaches don't care. They just move at will. Now universities move at will for whatever they think they can get the biggest buck. And now I'm changing my mind about the college kids getting money. The NIL, I'm going the other way. It's still bastardized, but I don't even care anymore because these universities have made it a mockery of what's going on in college football. There's no amateurism left, so why should I care whether these kids get paid or not? Total 180-degree turn for me. God. NIL is still a work in progress. Again, I'm moving. I will do that, John. Dan was just a great man, and I'll post it there for you. Thanks. Scholarships in sports is a big mess as well. Well, they also aren't beholden to anything either. There's no loyalty there. I could take your scholarship away tomorrow. Look at what Deion did at Colorado. Now, by all intents and purposes, he did get some of these kids, help them move to other schools. But for all intents and purposes, he pulled the scholarships for almost 80 guys. Hey. Hurricanes coach should be fired. Yeah, I talked about this. in a college football huddle a lot. Mario Cristobal not kneeling on the ball is one of the worst plays I've ever seen in college football, and it is a reminder of the miracle in the Meadowlands. Miracle if you're an Eagles fan, not for the Giants. Although that play did turn the Giants' fortunes around because of them cleaning house and bringing in George Young. But yes, what a horrible call. I mean, bonehead call of the year. I do think Miami bounces back and knocks Notre Dame from the ranks of the undefeated this week. I'm going to get to my picks in here in just a second because we're going to have to clean up. We aren't going to get to the NFL stuff I wanted to talk about, but I'll give you my picks because we got to get off of here by 9 so we don't overrun on Roku. But there's a lot of, and we'll talk about it next week, the surprises and disappointments. And we'll see how that goes. Carlos, whoa, that sea air opened up your lungs and cleared that big mouth of yours. You're a big talker when you're not in the studio, Carlos. You can see this coming when the pros took over the Olympics. Kenny, it's a great point. Kenny has said, in fairness to Kenny has said, I mean, you're not the only one, but Kenny has said on this show for sure, since the beginning, follow the money. I didn't think we'd reach this point, but we did. Carlos, give me your NFL picks. I want to do them before we leave. I need your NFL lock, and I need against the spread, by the way. Lock against the spread. Lock. I'm not a lock. Well, all right. Okay. College lock, NFL lock against the spread, and then don't be surprised if in both. And I need them quickly. So get typing. LO, as I said before about Cristobal, he's never, before he even started John Goods. LO, I said that about Cristobal. By the way, to Carlos's point, Marco Cristobal had a moment like this at Oregon as well. Bills are John's lock. Here's my lock. Carlos, get your locks in. Anybody else wants to put them in? We got 3 minutes. My NFL lock of the, well, give me my college since we've been talking about college the most. My college football lock of the week is, how come I can't read my writing again? Well, that's the NFL, that's why. Florida State rolls. I think the spread is 17.5. They're going to roll at home over Syracuse. Syracuse is, I love Dino Babers. He's going to get blown out a third week in a row. He needs to win the games after this to keep his job because they're winnable games. And my don't be surprised if in college is going to be, don't be surprised if Miami bounces back this week and knocks North Carolina out of the ranks of the undefeated. I see a shootout coming in this game between Drake May and one of my overrated quarterbacks, Tyler Van Dyke. And if Miami doesn't make the boneheaded mistakes they made last week, I think they can win this game. My lock in the NFL, the Bills will just run amok this week against the Giants. The Giants are a mess, as Carlos would tell you. The offensive line, Daniel Jones probably out. Saquon Barkley cleared, but I'm not sure if he'll play in this game. Bills are going to win this game big. But don't be surprised if the Jets play tough against the Eagles, are in this game in the fourth quarter with a chance to win. And also I had said, oh, can I read my writing? Crap, it was really witty. Oh, don't be surprised if the stadium, what is it, SoFi Stadium in LA is about half full for the Rams and Cardinals. I'll get as many comments in here as I can, guys. I got to start to wrap it up. Let me get my music going here. A bit low. I'll get as many comments in as before, and then we got to wrap it up and go. Oh, lost my comments. I'm going to go real quick. Gutted. I wanted the NFL in New England. We'll talk Sunday. I'm going to add this to my Sunday talk, Alex, so don't worry about it. We're still going to cover that. And I want to talk about the New England as well, by the way. Lock of the week, the Jets upset the Eagles. Whoa, college USC. I like Notre Dame. Actually, you know what I'm doing in that game, Kenny? I'm betting the over. It's 60. It's a gift. USC and Notre Dame tie. USC wins 24-21. How's that a tie? Oh, I guess I spread. Evan Neal is a new Eric Flowers. Not good. Dallas wins over the Chargers 24-21. And God agrees with me on the Hurricanes. Guys, join me at 3 o'clock for the Major League Baseball update. We'll see you Sunday with the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. Keith Engle for TGI Sports Talks. Are you serious? Maybe Carlos can find his way into the studio next week. Remember, we're on at 9 a.m. now, Eastern Time. See you next Friday.